right, at this rate, you guys are gonna owe me some fucking donations for all the hemorrhoid cream I'm gonna have to buy from fucking myself in the ass reading all these cycles. And for those of you who don't know, my name is Seth Green. I run a fitness coaching company. I've been doing fitness and physical therapy for over 10 years now. This is my safe space for other professionals, just to let bros be bros. If my content interests you and you want to see more, go ahead, click the links down below. My coaching link is also down there. You can book a call straight from there. Or if you want to be lazy as fuck, you can go ahead and scan the QR code right here. So right away, one of the first things I got was someone, I'm not naming who, messaged me. I have an PED I am very, very interested with. I would love to have tren be a constant part of my TRT and take it indefinitely if there's any way to pull it off, mainly for the dopamine boost and energy and drive, but I hate cycling. If tren can be used indefinitely with TRT for high doses, I will hire you as a coach. Unreal. Like, no, absolutely not, dude. Come on now. Let's be real. Do at least one little modicum of fucking research before you come up with that shit. From James Grimes, Grimes 2477. Going into a cut, 500 tests, 50 to 100 tren, and 50 primo as an AI weekly. Hope for good results with a caloric restriction. All right, 500 tests is fine. Why are we using 50 primo and 50 tren? Like, that's not doing anything. Especially the primo. Like, at that point, you might as well not even fucking run it. Just use it in Arimidex because you're just wasting money. So, yeah, no, I would definitely increase your primo, maybe 1-to-1 with your test if that's what you're looking for. Using it as an AI, it's not a super strong AI. Some people do get suppression from it, but I find usually mixing EQ and primo is what really, really nukes the shit out of your E2. And, I mean, 50 trends, you might as well just run 150, dude. Run 1 fucking ml of it. If you're gonna use it, use it. This isn't Vigorous Steve's channel. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that 5 milligrams of tren made me lose my mind and grow my dick 10 inches because let's be honest, Steve exaggerates a little bit here and there. I love Steve, by the way. This is not me shitting on Steve, but I feel like sometimes he takes the harm reduction route a little too far and it almost encourages people to experiment with doses that don't do anything. So you're just exposing yourself to a compound for no reason, really. You're not getting the big benefits you're looking for out of it unless you run it high enough to actually make a difference. If you're gonna run it at a dose you see something happen, but don't run it so high that you go mentally insane and think you're Wes Watson and gonna go kill people at the gym because that's the cool thing to do. So James Grimes, for your rating, I'm gonna give you a 6. David Kotz asks, hey man, big fan. Don't know if you answer these questions in DM. Want to go over a cycle. 1,200 test E, 400 tren, 50 anadrol is his current cycle. He's been thinking of switching it up to 1,500 tests, 400 MPP, 50 anavar, and 250 tren, 6'5", 255. A pretty big guy. So your basic cycle, where you're at the 1,200 tests, 400 tren, 50 anadrol, that's a really good solid cycle. I mean, the tren's not sky high, which I like to see. If you're gonna use it at a moderate dose, reap the benefits, and then get off it. Mix it with anadrol, that's gonna give you the power output for sure. You have that synergistic effect between the two. I'm good with it. I'm wanting to go to 1,500 tests, 400 MPP, 50 anavar, 250 tren. I wouldn't mix 19 nors. That's off the table for me. Some guys do it. I'm not big on that whatsoever. If you want to really ram progesterone into you, like, I don't like, there's too many things that can go wrong there that it's just not even worth it at that point. Just choose one 19 nor if you're gonna use it. You can mix DHTs, that's fine. When you start really dicking around with a ton of progesterone, it's let's not. Yeah, so pick one or the other. Some people do good on MPP and deca. Some people do better on tren. I tend to find is one or the other. Some people do good on both, but usually some people really like deca or MPP and they say it makes them feel great. Other people feel absolutely miserable and like suicidal on it and they do way better on tren. Some people don't do good with 19 hours period, but I mean, it just depends on what you are used to, what you can handle. If you've never done MPP, try it solo with tests. You might even want to lower the test a little bit. Some people have problems with the estrogen and the prolactin and progesterone all getting raised at the same time. They get really puffy nips and have issues with like gyno because of that too. So just another thought. If I was gonna rate this, I'd say your original cycle, that's pretty sound. Like, I can't complain about that one. It was like a 9. The mixing 19 nors, that one's gonna be like a fucking 5. I mean, I like the VAR high test, that's fine, but don't mix 19 hours. Because I mean, the test base is fine, and you know, using a little bit of tren and primo, your thought process is pretty good there. That's fine, compound selection wise, but dosing wise, like, you gotta run higher than 50 primo. That's like absolutely nothing. Can't give you a high grade for that one. Next up is Canadian Goose, and he's running 1500 test, 500 primo, 500 mast, and 15 IUs GH. Yeah, that's valid. I don't have much to say about that one. Like, I mean, high test, if you do get a high test, that's 2.5 grams, which is, you know, typical for the person of his size. But then again, you know, if you go ahead and you ask Jay Jacoby, I forget his first name, one of Matt Jansen's coaches, he says that they don't ever go up to 2 grams, supposedly. One of my posts. I found that hilarious. I called him out on it. I'm like, you're telling me that I can go Google right now some Matt Jansen cycles that people have posted, and none of them are going to be 3 grams, even with the orals. Like, he's full of shit. And then he walked it back a little bit, and then I thought for a second, I'm like, you know, I think Phil Viz would like to see this. So I sent Phil the link to it. I'm like, yo, go check this shit out. And Phil just went absolutely nuclear on it. It was hilarious watching it happen. Phil was messaging me, and he said, yeah, like, this guy, I've seen shit with his name on it. Like, he knows very well who I am, and he was walking it back right away because he knows that I will go ahead and post all the shit that he was saying he wasn't doing. When some of these pro coaches tell you their guys aren't doing 2 to 3 grams and up to 5 sometimes, they're flat out lying. You've heard me say this over and over again. It's just hilarious. It only comes out of Camp Jansen, by the way. I've had 2 or 3 people argue with me, and they're all Jansen's coaches that we don't run this. Nobody runs gear that high. And they are the ones known for pushing EQ and anadrol through the fucking roof. Ask Colton if you want to see some of the protocols. He has them too. But yeah, Canadian Goose, rating your cycle, I would say that's a 10 out of 10. Like, I mean, I don't have much to say. You could run a 19 or if you want. Honestly, with that high androgen load and just cutting primo and mast together, if you feel good on it, go ahead, run it. Next up, we got DB Savage, Dennis Ardema. What do you think of mine? 1 gram of test, 800 EQ, 400 tren, 300 mast, 0.5 milligrams AI twice a week. Don't prescribe yourself AI based on some standard protocol. Just use it based on when you need it. Like when your nips get puffy, when you start getting high estrogen, then I would use it. If you don't need it, don't use it. That's simple. Don't use things you don't need. I mean, it's pretty high dosing wise. I'd say you might not need a dose that high, just judging by his profile. As I said, it's all risk tolerance. It's up to you. I'm not your mom and dad at the end of the day. I'm going to recommend things based on, you know, what I know and safety profiles, but your blood work at the end of the day is what matters. Your blood work's good, your health markers are good, your blood pressure's good. You want to push, that is ultimately your choice. Some guys want to get bigger faster and they want to push the envelope. It's just the fact of life. This is bodybuilding. We're not here being health experts. Now, if this is a TRT guy and he's told me he's TRT, I'm gonna tell him fuck no. Like, I've had guys consult me that were in their 60s and they want to push like that. I'm like, no, absolutely not. Like, it makes no sense from a health standpoint for you to do that. It is very context specific. So for him in this context, like, I think the dose is a little high, but it's not outrageous. I think if you drop the EQ a little bit, get back down closer to 2 grams even, I think that's more than enough for him to grow on. He could probably go on 1.5. Structure wise, I'm not gonna knock it at all. I just think that if he's running 800 EQ, 300 mass, you probably don't need the AI. If you're gonna cut the AI out, like, yeah, keep the doses there, but if you're gonna run the AI, you don't need the EQ quite as high. At the end of the day, sometimes when you're running that much EQ and primo or mast, your E2 can be in the toilet. I did it once when I was working with Paul Barnett. We were about a 1-to-1 with primo and EQ, and they matched up with my test. So everything was about 1-to-1, like total EQ and DHT to test. My blood work came back and I had an undetectable under 5 E2. It can get that low when I'm lean. So you need to watch your estrogen when you're running EQ along with the DHT, because sometimes it can just tank it, which is good. If you need an AI, typically it will keep you in the lower range where you want to be. And then you can just add more tests to make up for it. That's all we did. We just bumped from 400 to 750 tests, and that fixed it. So in terms of structure, good structure, like, honestly. And I said just a little tweak there. Either lower your dosing a little bit, especially if you've never gone that high before. Like, guys do think you need to push the dose like super high, like bump it right away. It should be a gradual progression. Check out my ebook down below in the links if you want to see a standard progression for this. But yeah, progressing your test up in your first cycle to a max where you know, hey, this is my top test base. And then a DHT, doing the same thing, monitoring your estrogen. And if this is his 3rd or 4th or 5th cycle, like, yeah, that's appropriate. I don't know how many he's done, but I'd say it's not a horrible cycle whatsoever. I'm gonna give it like a 7 out of 10. Structure wise, good. Just a couple little tweaks I would do there. So the star of the show, Luke Dunaway, the guy on the thumbnail. One of the thumbnails. I have 3 running right now. Let me know down below which thumbnail you guys saw when you clicked on this. Luke got a funny one, the star of the show, the player of the week. I'm gonna start doing one like that. The player of the week's always gonna get one in there. Only like 1/3 of you will see it.
You in the chosen one!
So you guys can kind of get together in the comments and talk about how that thumbnail looks for the people that didn't see it. So he's interested in what I'd have to say. I don't know what I'm a fucking idiot here. Like, I don't know why he wants to know what I want to say. 650 test, 520, that's a weird number, but it's probably because of how many milliliters. We'll just say 500. 650, 500 every other day. I assume that's his weekly dose, but he's injecting every other day. 50 milligrams, oxyandrolone, Anavar. Split in the morning, night. 6 IUs of growth, morning and night. 1 milligram Retta per week. Anavar for 6 weeks. The rest of the protocol is 20 weeks. He also put something else where he said thoughts on using low doses of Retta to mitigate insulin resistance while on growth. Okay, a lot to unpack here. Structure, good. No point in splitting up your Anavar dose. It's there to drive your training pre-workout. It's not a huge growth response with it. It may help drive some muscle protein synthesis, some nitrogen retention, etc., but it's mainly there to aid your training. So just take all of it before training. 50 milligrams is probably as high as I'd go unless you can really tolerate a lot of Anavar. But as I've said before, once you're 75 and above, it's just side effect city. I don't even bother with all the cramps and shit you get. And honestly, 20 milligrams of good VAR is usually enough. 6 IUs of generic growth split. I wouldn't bother splitting, especially 6. That's like nothing, dude. Just do it before bed. Doing it before bed is best anyway. A lot of times people will do a split dose because they get the numbness in the hands and they want to split it up so they're not doing so much and getting that nerve compression. But unless you have that issue, which I highly doubt on 6 milligrams, and with his build that he is, he's not like a real burly guy, like the big, like real thick guys, like power lifter build or off season. Like I can see guys having issues with the water retention in the hands and maybe wanting to split it, but it's only 6 IUs. Just do it all at night. And 1 milligram of Retta per week. That's kind of low on the Retta. You could get away with 2 on that. I mean, 2 is pretty much the standard dose on Retta, and I thought I would need to microdose at 2, but if you check my Retta log videos, I found out very quickly that you have to run it a little higher actually, because it's not as aggressive as tirzepatide or Ozempic is, so you can run a little higher. And I know he's trying to bulk, so he's not trying to suppress his appetite, but I find 2 milligrams, it eliminates a little bit of food noise. I can still eat as much as I want. I have no problem shoving food down my throat. Shove it on my feet. I'm the Nick Avocado over here. Avocado. I don't know how to say his fucking name. But yeah, basically 2 milligrams. I know it's a little more fat burning there, so I would just use 2. Unless it nurse your appetite, then go back down to 1, but tinker with it and see. But I would say 2 is usually a little more effective. And yeah, it can help with the insulin sensitivity for sure. It does cut down on fatty liver disease if you start to develop that, and that's usually a problem in the off season when you're pushing a lot of carbs. So I do see an application there, and that's what I want to use it in at some point. I have 10 vials of it, so I can use it whatever the fuck I want, which is nice. But that'll be probably next year we look at doing that. Got to get lean for the socials first. So standard taper up. I'm running for 20 weeks. 20 weeks is fine. If you want to run it longer, you can. Just go based on your blood work. Honestly, test Primo, Anavar. You can probably run Anavar longer than 6, 8 to 10, I'd say. Just kind of keep an eye on your HDLs and your kidney markers. VAR, I'd always say, 8 to 10. Anadrol, your liver could take a fucking beating, so just run it as long as you feel like you can and your liver values are still in range. That doesn't matter as much. VAR, I'd be a little more careful because it does hit the kidneys a little bit. So yeah, I usually say like 8 to 10, but if you go lower dose on the VAR, like 10 to 20 milligrams, kind of like what burn or AIDS patients use, you can run it all year round technically. I wouldn't run it all year round, but you can technically. It's good structure. I'd say the doses are very appropriate for what he's doing. Maybe a little on the high side. I think this is his 2nd cycle, but it's test. He found out what he could run test, matched to the DHT using a fairly light oral and medium dose of growth, a little bit of Retta. I'd say it's maybe a tiny bit high to start with. Maybe you want to work up a little bit on the Primo if you've never used it before, but quite honestly, like that is a pretty good 9 out of 10 cycle. This is basically something I would program for somebody who is really looking to leverage all vectors. They're fairly new to it. They don't want to deal with the side effects of a 19 nor. Like, this is actually a pretty solid look. I would just tweak the Retta a little bit and then, not do the morning and night splits on some stuff. And the best cycle of them all. I saved this one for last, just for you guys, for the real stars of the show that stuck around and listened to all my bullshit. Aubrey Shane says 50 milligrams Dainables plus test 200 milligrams, deca 200 milligrams, tren 200 milligrams. Is it good?
No.
No, it's not. It's fucking ass. All right, that was a little harsh, but it's not good. I'll tell you that. I didn't want to shit on the guy too much because it looks like he doesn't have the most money. He's trying to make the best of what he can, and that's awesome. Like, he has like a home gym, just kind of whatever weights he can find. It's great that he's staying fit because a lot of people in that situation would just give up and be fucking lazy. So, not shitting on his work ethic, but your cycle fucking sucks. And I told him that and he didn't want to hear it. Here it is again. It sucks. I would not be using dbol, first of all, and mixing dbol, deca, and tren is just asking for a whole host of side effects and issues, considering this is like a second side. Your test is low in the first place, and then you're gonna go ahead and add some methyl estrogen, progesterone signaling, jack your prolactin through the roof, and then add all the extra water retention from fucking deca and dbol, along with tren trying to dry you out. I don't know. There's no structure here. You can tell he just got stuff from a guy that he knows and decided to run it all at once. Not good. 2 out of 10. Now, since my last post, I've had some filtering through the DMs. May do some of them next week, or I might just start clean slate and just say, hey, do the questions. So I have the little cards. Because the problem I have is when I go to script this, not really a script, I just throw them all in a fucking document and make my editor suffer. It's hard for me to like pull them up and read them because they get stretched out and everything. So it's just easier to edit and do things through the cards. So if I put it on my story, please answer on the story. And then, as I said, put a non if you do not want me to put your name. If not, you're getting your name put out there. If you put it in the comment section, it's public, so your name's getting on there anyway. So everybody saw it. Too fucking bad. If you like this content, go ahead, like, subscribe, comment down below. Tell me how much you like these, how much you don't, and you can always leave your cycle down there. We answer those ones because everything that happens on YouTube stays on YouTube.